kind of like they're artificially holding them down to keep everybody happy, you know, for the election. And then by nature, they just creep up a little bit. So I think that was anticipated regardless of who was elected the president. The major changes that people are maybe hoping for, I am anyway, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, or the CFPB, and all its many regulations that has been in effect for a little over a year now, or a couple of years, there's some questions and issues with it, and I think some of us in the industry are hoping there will be revamping of that.
Right.
But per the Mortgage Broker Association president, sounds like that's not high on President-elect Trump's menu right now. Is that what
That's
you're hearing?
kind of what I got out of it as well. Yes.
So it probably will be a lot of status quo, but status quo is not bad.
No,
The market has been good.
Well. Yeah.
So for those of you who are looking to make a move, Carolyn, why don't you tell us again? You talk of a 1/4 point increase right now. And Jean, you had said we give the facts. Well, unfortunately, right now we're giving speculation. We can give facts of what's actually happened, but we don't know what's going to happen in the future.
Speculation.
Yeah, factual speculation, but based on experience and knowledge of the industry. So if rates are starting to creep up 1/4% at a time, maybe for a little bit, what does that do to the people waiting on the sidelines to buy? What kind of numbers are they looking at?
So, for example, if we use, just to keep a simple number, on 100,000, so you can double it if you're looking at 200,000. But again, on 100,000, if the interest rate changes by 1/4%, so that's 0.25%, you're going to have a monthly change of about $14.30. If you're in the 15-year, you're going to have a monthly change of about $12.47. Not a whole lot,
right?
But if we continue to see a steady little bit of a rise and we start creeping up to a whole point, we're talking almost, $60, $80 a month difference.
And that's per 100,000. So suddenly,
exactly, if you're doubling.
300,000, you're looking at almost $180, $200 a month difference, which for those who are looking to buy a home, $200 a month can make a difference. It can lower your buying power. So that's one of the things that I anticipate. And again, this is purely speculation for those of you who are listening. Right. And if you're listening on an archive and it's anytime, say, after March or April of 2017, we're here in November of 2016 right now, you'll know whether I was right or not. But my estimation is that rates will start to go up a little bit, which will affect buyers' buying power because they won't be able to pay as much. But sellers tend to be slow to adjust to that. So a seller who thought they were going to be able to sell their house for $200,000, and that might have been what it was worth, as rates go up, that affects their ability to sell it at that number, or at least it lessens the pool of buyers. So, and sellers tend to be slow. So you might start seeing a little bit longer days on market because you might start seeing people holding on to a higher number than buyers can afford if it plays out the way I not fear, but expect that it will.
Right.
But then the market will adjust to itself, and we'll hopefully have a nice, strong real estate market like we see on the uptick right now.
Yeah.
I know the market, all of our statistics that come in, it's been a little slow on closings, but not because there's less buyers. It's because there's less inventory. So we still have the price of homes have been going up steadily from 1% to 3%. But the closing themselves have gone down last month, but it was because we didn't have any inventory.
Right.
So you can't sell what you don't have.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I always thought around the first of the year, after the first of the year, it's always seemed to be the practice that I've always seen mortgage rates kind of fluctuate a little bit after the first anyway. It's always some kind of a new year, let's test the market type of thing. But I think we're good now. Now, a lot of the mortgages that you can present to our listening audience, you can actually lock in a rate now, correct, for 30 days or something, but then offer them a lower rate if it comes to fruition?
Most lenders offer what's called a float down option. So the normal locking period is 45 days, 30 days to 45 days. I always like to comfortably do 45 days. Anything over and above that's going to kind of cost the consumer. But you could do a 60-day lock or a 90-day, but it costs a little bit extra to secure that particular interest rate. If you're locked in at a period of time and the rates improve during that time frame, you can do what's called a float down. it costs you money, but sometimes what we do is we do the math, because we're going to do the math and let you know whether it's worth exercising that option or not exercising that option.
So just to clarify to our listeners, when you speak of a rate lock, you're basically saying, I'm applying for the loan today and the interest rates today are 4%. And so I want to secure that 4%. I'm afraid they're going to go up, and I'm willing to pay some fee to confirm that no matter what happens for the next 45 days, I get 4%. But if you make that gamble and rates end up going down, then there will also be a fee for you to get the lower rate. So it kind of is a gamble. Do I want to lock it in? Do I think they're going to go up? Do I think they're going to go down? Am I willing to take that chance? Is that how a rate lock works?
Absolutely.
Okay. And if you do lock in the rate for 45 days and then it doesn't close, then the rate lock is off the table? Is that
correct?
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Well, thank you.
It typically stays with the property. And again, just every lender is a little different. Sometimes the rate lock follows the borrower. So if a property does fall through or it doesn't close and they find a different house for whatever reason, maybe an inspection, but the majority of them, the lock stays with the actual property that they locked in with.
Well, today is November the 21st, so just to let you know, we're coming up on the holidays. This was always an interesting time of year to try to close on a real estate because normally you can do 30 to 45 days is all we really need for a mortgage.
Right.
But when we start getting into November with the Thanksgiving Day long weekends, and then you've got the Christmas and the different holidays that occur in December, and then the 1st of the January, you really only have about 20 days now, 6 or 8 weeks of, for closings. I mean, there's just so many holidays, and a lot of surveyors and appraisers take a week off between the holidays and New Year's, and trying to get, and people want to close before the end of the year.
And to add to that, Jean, I will tell you again, over the 30 years of my practice, the end of the year, there is always a crush. Everybody puts in their contract, we must close by the end of the year. And there are some financial and other reasons for doing that, homestead exemptions and other matters that come into play. But usually it's just kind of a psychological, or maybe, again, there could be tax issues or things of that nature. But it's sort of a psychological, we want to close by the end of the year. And often it's not really significant. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But psychologically, everybody pushes, and it gets to be tough, as you say. That people take vacations, so there's staffing issues. And when a bank all of a sudden has 30 closings on December 31st, it gets to be tough. I mean, in one office,
right?
I don't
in one day,
so it gets to be tough. So those of you who are thinking about trying to buy or close on something, make sure you're staying on top of it and getting your mortgage broker or your title company or your attorney or your realtor any information they ask for quickly. Because if you get closer to that end of the year, especially, as the prior alluded to, CFPB, with the various disclosures that are required, pre-closing disclosures. You have, again, I don't want to get into the CFPB right now, but there's a 3-day pre-closing disclosure. And if we get too far into it, then they won't be able to close timely as the end of the year approaches.
Right. And the other thing that I'm going to now discuss, because it's a little tick with me, is these estoppel letters we need from the management companies on condos and various homeowners associations. They now will not, first of all, years ago, they never charged. An estoppel letter is just basically saying the seller is in good standing or they owe money, whatever that letter states. And years ago, it was free. The management company just gave you their receipt, basically, or their yearly report showed they were in good standing.
Right.
Now they've got this thing where they want to charge the seller, and it can get up there pretty expensive. I've seen them up to $500 just to show that they're in good standing. And they don't do it in a couple days. They'll say 3 weeks or 12 business days or something like that. And
you pay extra for the rush.
Exactly. And you pay extra if you want it in a couple days. Well, you need that for closing. And sometimes that's all you're waiting for is the stupid letter from the, thank you for letting me get this off my chest, the crazy letter from the management company.
Yeah, it's a certainly reasonable to vent about that, and you aren't the first and won't be the last. And I hear that venting a lot because as the title company side of it, I'm trying desperately to get these estoppel letters, and the clients are jumping on me, and again, we kind of get held up. I will say that there has been proposed legislation for a couple of different sessions now to deal with that, especially to deal with the cost, because as you say, Jean, years ago they didn't charge for it. They just gave you your ledger card and you're either current or you weren't. Then they said, oh, we're going to charge $25 for that. Then 25 became
fee.
$25. I'm like, okay, $25 is all right, whatever. It became 50, became 100, became 150. Now a normal fee is about $250. I know there have been some higher, and there certainly occasionally you get 150, or it's 150 but $100 rush fee or things of that nature. So there is or has been legislation proposed over a number of the legislative sessions, but to date it hasn't passed. So to date it's still a free-for-all for these companies. And so this would be a time to speak with your congressman.
Yeah, exactly. And well, also, if you're living in a community right now, which I am, that's thinking about hiring a management company to take care of their homeowners association fees and rules and regs, that might be a good question to ask them. How much is your estoppel letter going to be? Because they kind of have you over a barrel.
They do.
They can just about charge anything they want, and then if you're getting held up because you're at basically gunpoint for whatever they want to charge you, that might be another thing to ask if you're thinking about going with a management company.
Well, and this is where I want to plug both of you. So Waterview Title with John, and then Jean, you at Waterview Realty. That's one of the great things of working with you two, is because you know these things. So going in, when you have clients, you know to immediately prepare them, and also to work on trying to get that estoppel as soon as possible, where a lot of title agents or realtors out there don't necessarily have that knowledge or passion to work for their clients like you both do.
We appreciate that. Well, we're here to pull back the veil and let people see what's there, because there's just so many people go in, and I see this all the time, and I know you do too, John. They just go in there and, full force, and they're busy, and they don't really disclose a lot of things, or maybe they don't even know. I've seen a lot of people that don't even know some of these things.
Right.
As you had pointed out earlier, I teach the contracts class to the realtors, and we had a nice session this past Tuesday. It's a 4-hour class, and for the first time in history, I actually finished on time. I looked down at my clock, and it was 12:58, and I'm like, wow, I made it. So even though it seems like 4 hours would be a long time, it takes more than that usually for me to get through the contract class. But the thing that I emphasize at the class, and I'm teaching realtors, so hopefully the realtors are now passing this on to their clients, are the time frames. In every contract, time is of the essence, which means if you have a time frame, you need to abide by that. Well, again, as we're discussing, these management companies aren't bound by the time frames, but you as a buyer or seller may be. So it's very important when you receive a contract. Again, I'm putting on my title company hat now. When I receive a contract, to make a note of all of the time frames and make sure that all of the parties are aware, okay, this needs to be done by this date. Carolyn, you see this all the time, the loan application. You have to apply. The standard contract says 5 days. You have to apply for the loan within 5 days, and then you have, again, the standard contract's either 30 or 45 days to get approved. So you can't dawdle on that because, Carolyn, you can speak to this. It takes a little bit of time to get these loans approved nowadays.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, while we have just another minute or so left, Carolyn Wolf, Certified Mortgage Planners, give us your contact information once again.
Okay, and my NMLS number for licensing is 268-538. Best way to reach me is my cell phone at 321-795-9103. And our website is www.floridalendingpro.com.
And also in the studios with me today was the co-host Jonathan Lack. Give us your contact information, Jonathan.
All right, thank you. I'm with Lack & Lack Chartered, and we can reach on the web at lacklaw.com. That's LACKLAW.com, or by phone at area code 321-953-5115. And that's for the law office, but we are also Waterview Title Services, and we have separate contact information, but you can reach Waterview Title through the Lack & Lack information.
And if you'd like more information about the shows we've presented in the past or future upcoming shows, you can go to our website at yourhometownsolutions.com. And I think we'll post something about the Florida's hardest hit on that today, too. So if anyone missed your phone numbers,
and
he can
also
get
don't
that.
forget on Friday, December 2nd at the Goodwill Industries, there's a free workshop for the hardest hit program.
The hardest hit program, you need to know more about that. If you're having a little trouble with your mortgage payments or you're a little short on a job situation right now, and we'll